Uh, former Baltimore Ravens defensive tackle had this to say the other day that, look, we've talked about this many times, and the Pittsburgh Steelers do not care what a former player has to say, but he said this one, and I think it's just funny because you could clearly look and say how wrong this is. Chris Canty, former Baltimore Ravens defensive tackle, said, quote, "Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a legitimate starting NFL quarterback on their roster, so it got me to thinking, if Shadur Sanders starts the majority of the games this season in Cleveland, is not drafting him the biggest mistake in the Mike Tomlin era of Steelers football?" Absolutely wild, just to start. Absolutely wild. I think it's so funny that we have latched on, that some have latched on so hard to Shadur Sanders just being this guy that is going to change franchises, and the Steelers have missed on him so terribly. Like 31 teams, including the Cleveland Browns in the 5th round, passed on Shadur Sanders 5 times and said, we're good, we don't want him. That's not all interviews. A lot of that is talent. A lot of that is them looking at Shadur Sanders and saying, I just don't think he's a franchise quarterback or has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. But we could sit here and say that all day. You want to know what I'm more interested in? Is the wild hot takes of, is this the worst move in Mike Tomlin history? Which is, Shadur Sanders can go win 5 Super Bowls, okay? He's a 5th round pick who the entire world passed on, and I still don't think would end up being the worst decision the Steelers have ever made, okay? Ever. And I got 3 of them right off the bat that is just wildly ahead of Shadur Sanders being passed on by the Pittsburgh Steelers for 5 rounds. You ready?
Yes.
We'll go not as bad to absolutely nuts. Just 3. I just got a quick 3 for you. Terrell Edmonds over this guy named Jesse Bates. You want to know where Terrell Edmonds is in his career? A practice squad guy who's hoping to be on a roster. You want to know what Jesse Bates has done? Incredible things. He has made the Steelers' life hell time and time and time again. He made it hell in Atlanta when they played him last year. You wanted a safety, Mike Tomlin said clearly. He still says it to this day. In the 2017 NFL draft, we clearly wanted a safety. Yeah, why didn't you go get the good one? Why'd you? We get it. You wanted a safety. There was a better option out there. That's a wild one. Number 2 here. 2nd round of the, I believe, 2020 NFL draft. I'm almost positive it was 2020, COVID year, because I remember Roger Goodell sitting on his couch. The Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2nd round select this guy named Chase Claypool, wide receiver, not in the league currently, potentially heading up to Canada, his homeland, to play football in 2025. You want to know who they didn't draft that same round, that same year? The guy that just won the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles and got named Super Bowl MVP, who plays quarterback, who would have, without a doubt, been the next franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but instead they chose a guy that some teams thought was a tight end. Why? Because Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert wanted this dude and his special teams ability that they saw in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl. That's all they kept talking about. Oh my gosh, you should have saw this guy's effort on special teams during the Senior Bowl. Okay, that's fantastic. You should have saw Jaylen Herz lead the Philadelphia Eagles to the freaking Super Bowl for the 2nd time. That's what you should have saw. And then number 3, to me, this one's head and shoulders above any move the Pittsburgh Steelers have ever made. And I don't think it's all on him, but man, dude, coach makes the coaching decisions most times, and there was a clear connection of how he got here. I think everybody, at least Chris Canty, forgot that the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator under Mike Tomlin was Matt freaking Canada for 3 seasons. For 3 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers let Matt Canada call plays while nobody knew what was going on, because for 3 years, the Steelers couldn't identify what their identity was. You know what their identity was? We suck because our offensive coordinator is terrible. That's what it is. I mean, there's probably a billion others. Shadur Sanders, come on, dude. Go get Jesse Bates, Jaylen Herz, and call anybody off the couch. Anybody, you could call me. I bet you I'd call better offense than Matt Canada. No chance, without question. Those are just three. I thought of those this morning. You know what I mean? Like sitting in the airport, just going, Canada's a bad one. Terrell Edmonds over Jesse Bates was pretty rough as well. And Jaylen Hurts just won a Super Bowl. So I think that's worse than Shadur Sanders. Am I wrong here?
No, you are bang on. I am honestly shocked by the sensationalist takes about this. I like Shadur Sanders. I think he can be maybe capable. I was excited about the possibility of the Steelers taking him if they could get their hands on him. But the Steelers have had a ton of mistakes. I mean, you listed 2 draft blunders. The immediate one that popped into my head was a linebacker they selected named Jarvis Jones in the first round. And, you could just go on and on all of these decisions that, they could have gone a different way and it would have gone much better. So, yeah, I think if Shadur Sanders is the biggest mistake that Tomlin and company have made, that should be really a ringing endorsement of what Tomlin has done, because that means that some of the other mistakes look much better by comparison, which I think you are saying we completely disagree with. I think there's been a lot of mistakes in the Tomlin era, and maybe Sanders is one of the next ones, but I don't think it's going to be the biggest one or the one that is like the nail in the coffin of Tomlin's downfall.
Yes, look at, and in the chat immediately, Devin Bush at number 10. What are we doing here? Kenny Pickett over Tyler Linderbaum. What are we doing here? Like, just the names, Najee Harris over Creed Humphreys. What are we doing here? Like, it just got shout out to Chris Canty, man, because you got me to talk about it. I bet you got a bunch of other people to talk about it in the same breath. So shout out to Chris Canty. Worst decision of all time? Not even close.